Hello and welcome to a video on the installation of my pressure shower. So let's start with the basement. So I've already put the filter in the basement, and I didn't do that on camera because every time I do something like that on camera it always bites me in the bum. So I think if I'd have done that on camera I'd have probably been killed. It was quite a job to get it down here, as you can imagine. We sort of had to squeeze it round this corner quite. Anyway, it's done now. It's here, so I've been deciding where to put it. I think here's the best place. This is the water line from the drum filter, so all I'm going to do is put a T in here and come straight into the inlet, and then the outlet's going to go over there. So what I'm going to do actually is, if you look at the wall of this basement like that, it slopes, see down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut that bit out there around the cylinder of the wall, so that the cylinder comes to, instead of being there like that, it comes to here. Set it a little bit further back in, and then the same with this outlet. I might just cut the wall out just there to set the outlet back into there. This wall is sandstone, so it is really strong, but I don't want to chop it off too much. So yeah, let's get it set in and see how we get on. Let's make a bit of a mess. So this is the finished product, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cover quickly the points that I missed because the microphone wasn't plugged in when I originally did it. So this is the inlet. Obviously I've got the T-junction there, and then it goes to ball valve and then straight in, and then at that point it jumps straight up through the inlet there and runs through the filter, and then it runs out of here into this T-junction, which points this way because you can't get these rubber T's that are like a straight thing, which is slightly inconvenient because I don't really want it pointing this way as such, but because the pump outlet is just here, look, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it goes round there, back behind that wall, and then it comes up there and straight into the pump. So that's where the pump line goes, and then this is what I'm going to use to purge it. So at some point I'm probably going to cut the floor out here and lean a ball valve into this so that I can just purge it really quick if I ever need to. And then what I've done, so this is an 18,000 litre an hour pump, and I took it off of here and replaced it with a 13,000 litre an hour pump. So this system here has got two 18,000, that's an 18, a 13 and an 18, which is 49,000 litres an hour. These two pumps pump through this here, so this one here pumps through the heater, and then in, so two pumps go in that outlet there straight into the pond, and then the one from that filter goes up here straight into here and then over the wall of the pond and straight in. And I've used this pipe here, this flexible hose. I absolutely love this stuff, it's just so useful, and it holds pressure absolutely fine, so I have no problem using that at all. Obviously if you look closely at it, this is the not much corrugated pipe, and it can be solvent welded. As you can see, when I join it into these boots here, I solvent weld thing onto it so that I can join it into the boots quite easily, and then it works just great. I love that. So some things we could talk about now that I know the answers to them is, for some reason it constantly loses pressure. I've no idea why, do not ask me. There's no leaks on the system or anything, but somewhere the air pressure is disappearing into the system, and as you can see I've run down them two scuba cylinders, and now I'm currently running down this one, trying to get my balance right and stuff like that. So I'm not sure why, and then later on in the video we'll talk about oxygen levels inside it, and then I'll probably be making another video in a couple of weeks about the oxygen levels inside it, because that's going to be a bit of a learning curve for me as well. So what I'm going to do now is, obviously you can see the media in it, but let's join the video back at looking at the media and then putting the media in the filter and sort of plumbing it up. So this is the media that I'm going to be using with my shower filter. This is out of my river. It's Cyprodax. It's a really good media, I quite like it. I don't know how it's going to go in the shower. I've never actually used this stuff in the shower myself. So we'll see the difference between the shower and the river. It worked really well in the river, so I'm presuming it's going to work really well in the shower. So what I'm doing, because it's been out of the water for 2 months and it's fairly mucky, I'm using my pressure washer to coat it in boiling water. As you can see, this water's pretty warm. So I'm doing that because any good bacteria on it will be pretty much dead anyway, and it's been sat outside and that for 2 months, so might have picked up some bad bacteria and, you know, be a bit stale. So I'm getting all this boiling water over it to make sure when it goes into the filter it's not going to pollute my pond, and that way, you know, it's a fresh start. I do this occasionally as well with active media, and I've noticed that if you boil it, it does kill back the bacteria, obviously, but it does come back within a couple of days, quite noticeably anyway. So I'm expecting in a couple of days that my filter will be working, at least starting to work, and then in about a week's time it'll probably be up to a good running position, and then in a month's time it'll be at full power, working as it should. So once I've got this all filled with boiling water, we'll start cleaning them off and put them in the river, in the shower should I say. So here we are with the filter in the basement, and in this video I just wanted to sort of show what the pressure was like in the inlet to the video. And as you can see, I've actually put some formalin and malachite green in the pond just to clear it out before I started this. But this quite surprised me. There is an enormous amount of flow, pressure from that pipe, so it really flows quite well, obviously when it's not restricted as well. And it does flow like that when it's no pressure in the system. So when you first pressurise it, that's how it flows originally. Then obviously when it builds up pressure it slows down and then flows at the rate that the pump allows it to flow at. And in that, obviously you can see that I filled it up quite well so that I could put the media in without smashing it onto the floor. I could just drop it straight in. Right, here we are. I've filled it up with media. As you can see, all the Cyprodax is sat in there quite nicely. So there's plenty of room for a lot more Cyprodax. It's only to there, and I could fill it. I mean, you want a little bit of gap, so you could fill it to like there. So there's 200 litres of Cyprodax there, so I could probably put another 100 in. It is quite a big filter, so in my river, that's all the media out of my river, 200 litres of Cyprodax. So it holds quite a lot of media. So what I want to do now is to make sure there's no little bits or any muck. I'm going to purge the system. So I want to remove that bung there, which is why I've sort of cleaned out just here, and open the well up so that all the water ends up in the well. And then I can also take off this boot, because I want to put another couple of clips around it to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. So let's get on with opening this. See how well this goes or doesn't go. If I can catch that boot before it goes down. There we go, that's an idle way to clean the basement, but there we go, it's clean. Not been that clean in years. Down here. Yes, that were, let's have a look inside here now. Lovely. Empty. What I might do is just quickly purge it, because I think I dropped some Cyprodax down there, so if I just turn the valve on. There we go. And then that muck comes out there, so when I've got it plumbed up, I'm not doing it at the minute because I haven't really got the parts to do it, but at some point I'm going to dig a channel out under here, under these bricks here, and then I'm going to put a 4-inch line down here and then have a ball valve just here so that I can occasionally purge it out in case any muck or out gets stuck in bottom. And then obviously I can do that where I've just seen it'll still work with lid on. I can empty it like I've just done and then just open that up like that, and it'll force a right big wave of water through quite nicely and give the whole system a right good flush out. That's probably dropped a lot of water out of the main pond. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a mess about with this 90°. Well, that drains out the rest of the water. I'll come back to you in a bit. So there we go, that's the lid back on and all the media in. You can see where the media is just there. I might have to put some sort of light behind it to see where water is now. But there we go, and yes, I did forget to put in that plate there and put all the bolts back in, so that was fun. So let's turn it on. Let it get to pressure. Messing about with that. There we go, we're at pressure. I've also put 2 clips on each one of these because it will leak in this, so I'm hoping it doesn't leak anymore and it can cope with that pressure a little bit better, because this is the highest pressure point of the system, about 9 feet below water level, so it's probably best to do that. I've also tightened these up more than I did last time. I've gone around it a few times and made sure they're all nice and tight and evenly tightened as well, so that hopefully we'll see whether we lose any air or not. So let's put the pump back on. That's the pump back on. Perfect. So that's it. The first time we're finally running water through the media, which is good, isn't it? Nice. Just have to keep an eye on it. Yeah, the water level's there, look, I can see it, it's just here. So it's actually, it's not bad, I can leave it at that. So that's where the pressure is. So I'm just going to leave it there for a bit. In fact, a piece of sticky tape here somewhere. Use this piece of sticky tape to mark it right there, so that I know that if it loses pressure or not. So we'll see how it goes. So this is the first bit of testing with actual media in it, and one thing I will be doing is welding that up at some point, but I need to figure out how I'm going to attach this to air. That, like I said, this thing here is actually my air system for the fish house that gives pressurised air to all my air stones in the quarantine, the drum filters and the bottom of the main pond. So I might end up taking an outlet off that and into this and seeing where that air pressure keeps this system at, because also if the electric goes off then what that would do is, because there's pressurised air in here and the water's pushing against it, if the electric goes off, water would still keep coming in here, pushing the air out through the air stones in the quarantine tank and the pond. Or probably mostly the quarantine tank. Might not be quite enough pressure to push it to the bottom of the pond, but so if electric went off and I did that, it would actually be quite a good thing, as long as electric comes on before the water ends up getting in my air system. So yeah, quite pleased with that. Let's see how it runs for a minute. A bit quieter as well with media in it. So it takes about a day for the water level to come from that red spot there to about there, actually. So about 24 hours, 30 hours, something like that it seems to take to get up there. Again, I've no idea why. I think it might be because the pump is a little bit faster than the one I used in testing, and it may be, I don't know, taking bubbles through the system. I'm not quite sure. It's just one of them things I'm going to have to learn, I think. Over the past couple of hours it doesn't seem to have moved much, so I don't quite know how it does that. I don't know. It might even be this thing leaking, you never know. So eventually I'm going to change this and mess about with it, but I found something very interesting now, and let's have a look into that right now. So this bit really got me thinking. This is the oxygen section. So a lot of people commented on the other video that a normal Bakki shower is that good because it has a lot of air to it. It has got, you know, atmospheric air to it constantly, so that it can use oxygen and, you know, process the chemicals in the water, which is what I want this to do. However, I've noticed something quite interesting. One of the things I originally suspected was that because it's a closed unit, you may get a drop in oxygen because it's a closed unit. However, it's not a closed unit, there's water flowing through it, so I figured that any drop in oxygen would be replaced by the oxygen in the water, which may be completely true. This is the testing bit. So I think, say if there were a mouse living in that filter, obviously it drowned, but let's not go into that. Say if there were a mouse living in that filter and breathing the oxygen in that filter, then I think that the water in there would replenish the oxygen and take away the carbon dioxide, so the mouse could actually live in there indefinitely, minus other things that the mouse might need. But I think that's what would have happened, but it's not happening as I suspected. But again, there is formalin and malachite green in the pond at the minute, which removes oxygen from the water, and I have increased the airflow through the system in the pond, but I'm noticing a reduced level of oxygen, and I'll show you how I'm finding that. So obviously I've got 3 scuba cylinders here, so for most of you might have guessed that I'm quite into scuba diving, and I am, as it happens, and I have one of these which is an oxygen analyzer. So in scuba diving we dive with enriched oxygen sometimes, and it's good to know how much oxygen's in your cylinder, because if you put too much in it can kill you. Anyway, let's not get into that. This tells me how much oxygen's in the atmosphere, and what you do is you set it to 21%, which is basically what's in the atmosphere at the minute. And if I put this, so if you, I don't know if you can read that, that says 21%. So let's go and get the outlet from this. So if I plug this into here, so this is blowing out the air here from what is inside the filter. So if this reads anything different from 21%, then we know that something is either using the oxygen or even increasing it. So let's see. 16, 15. So look at that, 15.2%. Yeah, 15.1%. So the oxygen in there is now 15.1% instead of 21%, which is obviously atmospheric air. So something is using it. Is it the media? The media is now 1 day old, so it could be the media that is using that oxygen, or it could be because there's formalin and malachite green in. I'm not quite sure. Or it could be both. It could be because there's formalin and malachite green in it, it's not releasing the oxygen into the filter properly, so that when I'm testing it, it's giving me obviously bad oxygen readings. This might actually be giving me an inkling of that the water has actually got poor oxygen levels in it. Obviously you can't read the oxygen level in the water without complicated chemical tests. So this might be giving me an idea of what oxygen levels actually in the pond, because of the chemicals that I put in it. I've no idea. So what I'm doing obviously at the minute is I'm just letting some air leak out, and then I connect this scuba cylinder like that and fill it back up, and now I'm putting in some fresh air basically. And I could be putting in pure oxygen or even enriched air, but at the minute I'm just stuffing in 21% normal air just to see how we go. So this is going to be the testing phase. I want to see if I can get the oxygen levels to come back up and stay at a normal stay at the normal range. If not, then I am going to have something to recirculate the air in this system. I've no idea yet. Obviously I'm going to wait till the formalin and malachite green has worked its way out of the system, and then when that's worked its way out of the system, I'll be pretty much sorted with knowing where we're going with that. So there we go, that's a little bit of an update or an insight into the oxygen situation, and I will get back to you with that in a video in about 2 weeks' time. So it's quite late at night and the fish are inactive, but they are particularly inactive tonight. So the oxygen levels that I'm getting from that shower might actually be quite representative of what oxygen levels are in this water. So I mean, they're bubbling quite well. We'll see how we get on tomorrow with it. I think they should be fine, but that low oxygen that I'm getting out, and it could be just representative of what's in the water and not what the filter's going to be running like when it gets back up and running. So if you like this video, then please like it. If you have any questions or comments, then please put them down below. The comments on my previous videos about this filter have been incredibly helpful. Thank you to everybody that's commented. I love reading your comments, and I shall see you in the next video. And if you want to see more videos on fishies and silly filters, then please feel free to subscribe.